overwhelming. We're starting now because we have only 90 minutes for a big topic to throw some light on. My name is Thomas. I support CoFSA in a volunteering capacity, and together with Charlotte and Noemi from the Secretariat, we organized this dialogue today and will facilitate today's session. Now, how did we get to this day, to this meeting? Basically, the idea to work on polarization was born when CoFSA members met at a Buddhist monastery in the south of France, founded by Thich Nhat Hanh. And we basically followed the monastic practice for a week. And these topics emerged, such as polarization, and they have since influenced the CoFSA direction. Why is it so relevant to talk about, polarization, conflicts, and tension in food systems? Because we can see it exploding everywhere. And I think while we witness all this tension, we can also see the energy that goes into conflict. And so we thought, how about using this energy that goes into conflict? How could we use it for something better? Is there another way
Put
of
Max
using
on.
the energy to co-create? And so we came up with this format today. We wanted to clarify the background, the roots of conflicts and polarization in food systems, also provide some guidance on how those could be overcome, and make that insightful to all CoFSA members, independent from where they are joining. So what's the plan for today? We have three main content parts contributed from our three guests, Patrick from France, Reinhild from Germany, and Ibrahim from Nigeria. In the first part, which is taken care of by Patrick, we will look at the background, if not the roots and the dynamics in food systems tensions. That will be one aspect. The second aspect will be to look at the drivers and how to differentiate the terminology that is used, and look at the drivers behind polarization. In the second part, we will hear about two lived examples from Reinhild and Ibrahim that show how conflict parties can find or rediscover a common ground and then move on together. And in the third part, we will have some group work, the opportunity to apply what we've been talking and sharing at a personal and professional level in this meeting. Who are our co-creators today? First off, there's Patrick. He has connected so many areas into a broad yet also practical perspective of agriculture and food systems. He's educated in veterinary science, in development geography, nutrition, public health, and also mediation. And his capacity has been recognized in so many places around the world. He also spent some years in Latin America and Africa, and held a tenure as chairperson of the high-level panel of the UN World Food Security Committee. For most of his time, he's kept his roots in CIRAD, which is the French Agricultural Research and Cooperation Organization. And then we have Reinhild Benning from Germany. She's a senior expert at Deutsche Umwelthilfe. She grew up on and is a certified farmer with many years of practical farming experience. She has also more than 20 years of organizational experience in shaping the discourse around transformation, policies, and conflicts in food systems. And she's been doing this working for the three major NGOs in Germany, but also beyond. And then we have Ibrahim from Nigeria. He is also a farmer. He's many things. He's also a talent manager and a conscious food system educator. And he's applying creative methodologies and his experience in working with communities on food systems transformation and conflict resolution. He's also a facilitator of the JOS Food Systems Alliance and serves as a project coordinator of the Greater Farmers Multipurpose Cooperative Society. And with all that background that he has, bridging the creative, the inner development, and sustainability, he's very well positioned to do something else. He's also a music producer. And with that in mind, I hand over to Jimena, who's going to bring us into an even better place in a few minutes.
Thank you, Thomas. Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for being with us today. So I'm Jimena Gomez from the CoFSA Secretariat, and in CoFSA, we like to start our meetings with a short grounding meditation. So I will take you through it. I invite you to bring your attention to yourselves and sit comfortably. So check in with yourselves. Make sure you are placing both feet on the ground. And I invite you to gently close your eyes so that we can bring our attention to our inner landscape. Let your spine be easy. Let your shoulders soften. And feel the weight of your whole body. Feel the contact with the floor beneath you. Make sure your mics are muted and feel the contact with the chair. And bring your attention to your breath, the air coming through your body. Just observe it. How is your breathing today? Feel the movement of the air. Notice how it enters slowly through your nostrils. Feel it moving gently towards the center of your head and spreading down through your lungs. Just let the air breathe through you. Let it come in. Let it go out. And feel into the whole of you. Your presence here and now. Now notice your inner landscape. What lives inside of you? You can notice different thoughts, different feelings, and take a moment to observe them with tenderness, with presence. Notice all these different voices that emerge in this moment. Voices of care, voices of hope, also voices of pressure, frustration, maybe voices of fatigue, uncertainty, voices of belonging, voices of love. Notice which voices are maybe louder and more present. And also notice those that are more subtle and quieter. All of these voices are welcome. All of these voices belong. Each one carries something real. If you sense any tension or discomfort, just breathe with it. Let the air find spaciousness. And notice how it gently reaches every cell. The breath reaches every corner of yourself. It reaches places that feel very open. And it also reaches spaces that feel tight and tense. Slowly dissolving edges. Softening. Making new space. Connecting. And while keeping your presence with your breath, let your awareness softly widen to include the space around you. And you can slowly open your eyes, just softly in your own time. And we can notice all of us in this space, in this shared moment. We are here with different roles, different experiences, different stakes. But yet we share a larger ground. Feel into that. The land, the food, the livelihoods, our future. Feel the whole of you and feel the whole of us. So now I invite us to take 3 deep and easy breaths all together. Let the air come in and take an easy breath. And let's breathe together. One last breath. And with a smile, we thank ourselves and all of us for this moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jimena. Welcome to all. I'm Charlotte. I work with the CoFSA Secretariat, delighted to see so many of us, which I think is a sign of, in these very polarized times where we often have very loud voices calling to the extremes, we maybe have a silent majority wanting to see how we can heal. And when we approached this topic, the first person I thought about was Patrick Caron, because Patrick and I were in Rome 4 or 5 years ago already after the pre-summit. And walking back to our respective hotels, Patrick was telling me, there's so much potential creativity when there is disagreement. And he just opened a whole box in my head, like, whoa, wait a minute, disagreement could actually be something good, could actually be a resource. But it's all about how you see it. And so, Patrick, can you maybe guide us into this conversation and give us a few, landmarks that could help us navigate these and make it a creative situation? Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Charlotte. And now that we are all relaxed, I think we can really deep dive into tensions and address the challenge you raised. My thanks to CoFSA organizers is just incredible, and what a success to have to get so many people online. My entry point will be food systems and the transformation of food system. Why? Because it lies at the heart of very complex issues bringing together social justice, environmental challenges, health issues, and well, the whole range of development challenges, sustainable development challenges, and their transformation is not just an easy journey. It comes with very complex and wicked problems. It brings together many stakeholders at different scales, from local to global, and with very different and divergent, sometimes vested interest, and even more, very divergent and different values. So it's not at all a surprise that food system transformation generate a lot of tensions, conflict, polarization. Well, if you don't want to hear and to listen to me, if I have to say it in one sentence or two sentences, number one, controversy is fertile and very different from polemics. And number two, we are currently losing the capacity to address controversies, to get into dialogue, and this is because of excessive polarization. So this is what I will try to share with you. Uh, the context is difficult. We all know that, and I will not spend this too much time on that. But we are observing an unprecedented level of polarization when it comes to food-related issues and matters. And my assumption here is that polarization delays progress, keeps us trapped in a narrative of paralysis. It's blocking avenues for engagement when at the moment we need really big transformation, deep transformation to address sustainability. In other words, polarization leads us to procrastination and to the maintenance of status quo because of the ongoing uh, concentration and power relationship. And this is all accentuated by the mediatization, hyper-mediatization, and impact of social networks. And the polarization is encouraged by the mercants of doubts and the mercants of certainty. Well, it's the spread of fake news, and we can say anything about food, everything is allowed. The spread of those fake news increase suspicion and and put a suspicion, very strong suspicion, in particular on scientific knowledge. I could share. I'm very conceptual when I said so, but I could be very practical and pragmatic, and I can give a lot of examples of such polarization. Let me just take one or two examples just to make it more concrete. Something that everything can come from local innovation, local transformation, and that global is just devil. And on the contrary, some people think that everything should first come from global, fixing the trade issues, fixing the national policies, and do not consider local innovators as serious people. And there is a huge tension across localist and globalist. This is just an example. I could also mention, and I'm sure you're all aware of that, the big tension between promoters of environment and landscapes health and the promoters of economic growth. They cannot even talk to each other sometimes and just blame each other for not being serious and bringing the humanity to disaster. They just cannot talk to each other. Another example I could provide, and that will be my last one, will be something that technology will always provide a way to move forward and to address the problems. And when the limits of the planets will be reached, we can even go to Mars or to another planet to continue thanks to technology. Other ones would say that uh, we have to be skeptical about technology because of their footprint, in particular by deepening the social gap and injustice, and that we first have to look at structural changes. I just provided 3 examples of such polarization that makes dialogue difficult. Let me look at the deep roots for such polarization. I would suggest to identify 5 of them. The first one is the very strong power asymmetry and the temptation of hegemony, even more in the geopolitical context at the moment. The second reason, deep root, would be the difficulty to understand each other because we refer to different worlds, we refer to different values. The third one is that some of us look at short-term benefits when other ones look at long-term benefits. My fourth driver for such polarization is that it's sometimes much easier to impose a solution rather than to look for mediation and dialogue which is very costly in time and energy. And the last one is that there are some dispute and disagreements about technology and innovation, and this is because of different values and norms. Just take the example of GMO. Similarly to the roots of polarization, let me look at some definitions. I said that at the beginning that controversy should be looked as fertile, and Charlotte challenged us for that. It very much differs from polemics and altercation. Polemics and altercation, you try to delegitimize your opponent, to make him or her ridiculous, which is exactly the contrary of controversy. Controversy is based on respect to different views and the capacity to dialogue. What is conflict about then? It's a process of opposition across stakeholders and usually involve violence. Polarization, it's a gap between persons and stakeholders that have different positions. Controversy, it's completely different. It's a process of bringing together different views, different versions, and help building something new out of this difference. It can help resolving or preventing conflicts. And polemics is just about trying to delegitimize your opponent. So there is a big difference between controversy and these other issues, and this is why I'm making the assumption that it's fertile. Over the last years, over the last decades, we've seen a renewed interest in addressing controversies. And this is because of, number one, the proliferation of situations of uncertainty and crisis. Number two, because of the contested footprints of some technologies. And number three, because of the concerns about the status and the legitimacy of experts and scientific knowledge in public debate. Well, by paying attention to controversy, what we can aim at is developing the terms of a collective understanding through mutual listening and understanding of the respective positions of the parties that are involved in disputes. The search of agreement is not necessarily systematic, but the look for understanding the disagreement and moving beyond is what is important, what matters. Well, as a consequence, it's important to rehabilitate our capacity to address controversies and to consider the constructive pathways to facilitate the transition. This means also, number one, refusing the naivety of consensus. Number two, refusing the violence and the uncertainty of dual confrontation. In fact, controversy is not focusing on actors. It's focusing on the topic that we want to discuss with the exploration of the opportunities to reformulate what is the disagreement about. It's to clarify disagreement. It is about mobilizing the actors in resolving a common problem, and it is about laying the foundation for collective intelligence and action. How can we do to address controversies and move away from polarizations, tensions, conflict, and consider it, making it a fertile ground? I'm here referring to what we call Montpellier process, which is an initiative that was promoted by my institution, CIRAD, and its partners. And the main objective was to facilitate the design of food system transformation pathways across different stakeholders, across different sectors, environment, climate, health, agriculture, energy, and across scales as well, how to communicate across local, national, and global scales. What we try to do is to promote collective intelligence. And in this process, participants began to talk about let's create safe, risky space. This is an oxymoron, this is provocative, this is safe space. This means safe space for risk-taking, for opposing our arguments, for debating about disputed issues without moving into polarization or violence. These are spaces where citizens, decision makers, economic players, academics can compare their perspectives. They can share knowledge. They can address the controversies. They can learn from each other and possibly explore potential solutions. The aim of the debate is not necessarily to agree, as I said, is to identify the issues at stake and to be able to engage in negotiation, in organizing our doubts about transformation, in reformulating questions. Of course, I'm coming from scientific community, so there was also an issue and an objective about rehabilitating the capacity of science to engage in such discussion, in such dispute, without necessarily be imposing its view or prescribing. So it's about seeing what makes the difference, recognizing, providing name, disqualifying or qualifying the agreement and disqualifying polarization. This is about identifying interests and values that shape the disagreement so that we can, through mediation, engage in co-design and negotiation. These risky safe spaces means a fruitful discussion, the capacity to express opposed views, encourage reflection, and contribute to the design of a new representation or common position. Of course, this is not spontaneously easy. This brings a lot of resistance, misunderstanding, tension, and aggression. But we have to move beyond that. And this means some conditions. Number one, mutual respect. Number two, an attitude conducive to exchange and to construction. And number three, active and benevolent listening. Number four, emotional intelligence to move beyond direct reactions. This means learning from each other and from the many initiatives that we can witness here and there. So, yes for controversy, no for polarization. Back to you, Charlotte. Thank you.
Wow. Bang, 15 minutes on the second. Thank you, Patrick. Very inspiring. I think we're probably asking you for that text to post on our website because so much wisdom there. And we're now going to turn to Ibrahim, who has been creating these risky, safe spaces in very dangerous contexts, in the context of Nigeria, where there are conflicts between farmers and herders. And I have a friend who's sitting here in the National Court on the asylum rights, where they decide whether to grant asylum rights to people in France. And she was telling me they have many people coming from Nigeria, victims of those conflicts. So it's very inspiring to hear that there are people like Ibrahim working to build those spaces. So we're going to switch the pins, and we're going to bring Ibrahim on board so that he can share his experience of how you've been handling these conflicts. Ibrahim, over to you, and you can let me know when you want me to share the photos. I'll be there at hand ready to share.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to join you all today and talk about a very important issue, which is the conflict between the polarization between herders and farmers in Nigeria, which has turned into conflict and has claimed the lives of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people in Nigeria and along the Sahel region. So the conflict between herders and farmers, the root cause is due to the climate pressure and the competition between for resources, that is land and water. Farmers and herders have been going back and front with each other, which has caused the life of a lot of farmers and even the herders. So, and which it has disturbed food production in Nigeria, and which is one of the causes of the reduction of food production in Nigeria. So one of the things we did in GreyFarmco is to bring a solution, not bring a solution, but to create an avenue where farmers and herders can sit down together and then have a dialogue and listen to each other, which we call it the building organic bridges, where we brought farmers and herders together to sit down, listen to each other, and then have a dialogue. And during this process, both the farmers and the herders realized that they all want the same thing. Farmers want survival of their crops, while the herders want the survival of their herds. So during this program, what we did, we selected 6 locations in our region that has been known with this violent conflict. And we met the Association of the Farmers and also the Association of the Herders separately. And then we give them our idea. This is what we want to offer, to create a space whereby both the herders and the farmers will come together and then listen to each other and, build collaboration. And so during this process, the farmers realized that they need manure, and the herders realized that they need further. So they had to come together and say, okay, for us to really have the survival that we're looking for, we have to work together. We have to collaborate. And that is, that is what actually brought to excuse me. So yes,
take a breath, Ibrahim.
yes, it's much of me. Yeah. So building organic bridges, bringing farmers and herders together, and the collaboration. I'm on this part.
Let's have a conversation, Ibrahim, because I love your story so much. Yes, no, it's I think what could be, when you were sharing your story and when we were preparing the call. So can you tell us, in some villages it seemed to work well. There was really an appetite, and in some villages it was more difficult. Maybe you can tell us What made it work in some villages and less in others?
Okay, well, when we started meeting the leaders of the association of the farmers and the herders, initially some association resisted, and then others gave us little air. But after back and front conversation with them, both associations agreed that okay, let's give it a try because this is a new thing, and it's not like that. It's not like we are bringing solution to them. We are creating a space whereby both of them can sit down and converse and listen to each other and have a conscious dialogue. So in some places it worked and in some places it didn't work. And the reason why it worked in some places was because they were open. They were open to try new things because they have tried a lot of solutions by the government from other organizations and it has not worked. But this is a new solution. This is a new way that they can see if the possibilities of creating a safe space for both of them to, carry on their business safely. And yes, and in other regions, the regions it didn't work. They were hardened, and they don't even want to hear such kind of initiative. They don't even care. All they want is to continue the violence. But we the exercise took us 9 months. So we kept on going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But at the end of the day, we were successful to hold the activities in 6 locations where we trained. In each location, we had 100 participants, 50 from herders and then 50 from farmers. And we created a space where they had a conversation. Yes, you can see this in this slide. Yes, this. Okay, yeah, it's this slide. This first picture is a picture of the wives of the herders who were training them how to extract cheese from their milk. And then the second picture is the pictures of farmers. We're teaching them okay, this was a financial education because we have to give the farmers, both the farmers and the herders, financial education, yeah, as one of our initiatives so that it can help them continue their business after our intervention. And you can see here, we distributed seeds to the farmers, coffee seeds and strawberry seeds, because we worked with coffee cooperatives and also strawberry cooperative of farmers. And can you, next slide, please?
Yes, and just maybe to emphasize, I understand you were doing these activities because creating spaces of dialogue was not enough. It was also important to address some of the very practical challenges the farmers and herders faced to build up the trust. Is that correct?
Yes, of course, because you can't just bring them and create space for them to have conversation, right? You have to then after the conversation, what next? So we have to train them, give them incentives, provide seats for them, provide further for the headers, so that what they have discussed, the outcome of their conversation will actually continue, rather than just having the conversation and just let it die, So that was the reason for the, yes.
That opened the space for dialogue.
Yes.
And here, these photos here, it's the listening sessions.
Yes, these photos are the listening circles in 2 different locations. We were lucky that one of our locations, a community church, offered a space for us, because when they heard about the initiative, they were impressed. They were happy that for the initiative. So they provided a space for us that we can bring both the farmers and the herders together to, have a safe conversation.
Yeah, so we were talking in our preparation how the place where you hold the dialogue is actually one important factor of success, right? It's not neutral. You don't hold these dialogues just anywhere.
Yes, you can't hold this dialogue everywhere. You can't, because now the farmers are scared to go into the region of the herders, and the herders are also scared to come into the region of the farmers. So you have to create a neutral ground that both of them can come and then sit down. It is not for the farmers, it is not for the herders, it's a neutral ground. And then this church, thank God for the community church that provided this neutral ground for the herders and farmers to come together.
And can you also tell us maybe who you are as a person? Was also an important potential success factor, right? Who the convener is. Can you tell us maybe what is it about you that made these dialogues possible?
Well, I think one of the things is the legitimacy of the convener. Because you can't just bring someone from another region into this region. You have to get someone that is familiar with the region, that is familiar with both sides, a local facilitator, someone that has full knowledge of the environment. And this is one of the reasons, yes, the legitimacy of the convener was one of the reasons why we had success in the intervention, and also the use of local facilitators. Those that are not, because some of the locations were hotspots for the conflict, and there are some facilitators that cannot go there. So we have to use local facilitators that have fully knowledge of the terrain and know both.
Yeah, and even despite those precautions, I understand in some places you just had to run for your lives. Is that right?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. There were situations that we had to run for our life because, it's really, that's the conflict between herders and farmers in northern Nigeria, especially in Nigeria, but especially in northern Nigeria. It's a very big problem that in a particular location we had to run for our lives. Yes.
And maybe to conclude on a positive note, can you give us an example of one area where the dialogues led to a positive outcome or maybe a new form of collaboration?
Yes, we still have reports from 3 of our locations that the collaboration, they still have ongoing collaboration after the dialogue session. And because during the dialogue sessions, they realized that we all want the same thing. We want survival, farmers want survival for their crops, and the herders want survival for their herds. So they realize that they have to build a conscious collaboration where both parties will work together. And since the farmers need manure for his crops and the herder needs fodder for his, and so the collaboration, in some of the locations we are still getting information about ongoing collaboration. But in some locations, in fact, was our intervention successful? I'll say, well, I'll give it a 60%. But was it impactful? Yes, it was impactful. And it shows that when you bring both parties together and they sit down and they listen to each other, Patrick was talking about active listening. And when we sit down and listen actively, we all realize that we all want the same thing.
Yeah, beautiful. And as you say, even in the places where there's still disagreement, maybe you've sown some seeds and you've shown an example that a different way of doing it.
Yes, of course. In some locations, they are still talking about it. It's something that is a seed. When you plant a seed and you keep watering it will grow. And so.
Thank you, Ibrahim.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that story. And you were talking about common ground, and that's a great transition to go to Reinhild. We're going to go to you see lots of claps. I join you in clapping. I'm going
Thank you.
Thank you. Make you come out and bring in Reinhild. So Reinhild, common ground. You're in a very different context. People are maybe not fleeing for their lives, but still it's tense. And there was a question, I think Marie-Amélie wrote in the chat, how do you move towards dialogue? There needs to be a desire from both sides, but how do you create that? And I have a feeling your presentation will give some elements of answer. So the floor is yours. I'm gonna get myself out of there.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you so much, Ibrahim, for these deep insights into conflicts in very important regions of our beautiful Earth. I would like to take you with me to Germany, and here we are going to look for open gates and common grounds between different parts of our society, because maybe you know also in Germany and Europe we have a part of the population tending more and more to right-wing positions and also right-wing parties, not very close, which are not very close to our democratical and scientific principles. And so we are trying to bring positions or to look for common ground to bring positions together. And we are trying also maybe to shift conflict lines from the conflict lines which are already seen to conflict lines which are not seen by now, but which are maybe important. So I would like to take you with me. In Germany, especially, a common challenge of all is seen in the consequences of the climate change, such as droughts. You can here see land or maps from Germany in the developing of the years from 2001 to 2020, and we see that droughts are increasing heavily, and also the challenges in consequence. I would like to tell you shortly that our principles from the DUH, from my organization, Environmental Action Germany, are based on the three pillars: scientific discipline in agriculture, the movement, which means really a movement in a political way. We are bringing positions to political parties, to political and also commercial decision makers. And sometimes we are bringing our protest to the streets. And on the third pillar, we address the practice. So we are working together with farmers. So for this aim, it is very helpful that I'm a farmer by myself. I grew up on a farm and I worked many years on a farm, as Thomas said. And so I think the dialogue with the colleagues is often very fruitful on this basis. So what are common grounds between environmental and consumer organizations and farmers on the other side? We see from the farmer perspective that trends in producer prices show clearly in Germany that the producer prices, as well for animal products, also for plant products, are decreasing hardly. That means they are producing on a more or less stable basis, but in the challenge of the climate change. So from year to year, it is more difficult to keep the amount of harvest, but the producer prices decrease over the last years. From the farmer perspective, it is like that. So yeah, consumers only have their hands in their pockets. They are looking at us. They are demanding higher standards and more environmental and animal protection standards. They are only expecting and demanding, but they are not helping us. And so we are trying to bring things together. As consumer and environmental organization, we are going into regions where it is sometimes politically difficult to have discussions because of here in this area, for example, in East Germany, more than a third, nearly 40% of the population is voting for far right wing parties. So it is not easy to go there and to have these discussions. But what we did is to look at the common challenges, which is here the groundwater. The tap here is decreasing so much because of the climate change and the consequences of the climate change, that we see here on the picture on the left. The tap measurement, which we did together with an expert here, shows that we have a decreasing groundwater level. So farmers who came to our invitation just in the community house, they came together to discuss this issue with us and to listen on scientific opinions on the reasons why the tap went down and also what might be solutions. We also invited other stakeholders like hunters, you see on the picture on the right, on the right picture down there. Then we went also in regions where industrial farming is very common, is very, a large income factor for farms. We went there and you see here a barn really on a farm where 450 beef producers, cattle farmers came together, and we had a vibrant discussion. And as Patrick mentioned, we faced each other with different positions, but we respected each other. So this is very important for the discussion. And then we also went into barns and pubs. So we went to the places where the farmers meet already, where the farmers are, where the population in the areas of the countryside meet and where they come to. And we went there to offer our readings from the challenges we face both. We also did role plays. Here, there were a lot of farmer organizations, but also industries and trade people from the trade, like supermarkets. And we made role games so that everyone had to change the view and the position. And we see then the perspective changes. Sometimes you see yourself in a mirror is if someone else takes your role in the game. What we also did is analyze what are farmers demanding for. And we saw in whole Europe a lot of farmer protests. And what we see here is so many farmers asked for correct prices, for young farmers need a future, no dumping, says the panel above on your right, on the right picture. And down there, very conventional, very traditional farmers also are only asking for fairness in the food chain. And young farmers, like on the picture on the right down there, a young farmer woman is asking for acknowledgement. That means for respect and fair prices and fair policies and a future for young farmers. So I think we can share this like consumers and like civil society. So we then analyzed the scientific basis, what is meant by fair pricing and fair prices. And then we saw that, for example, here for fresh milk in German supermarkets, we see on the left table here, the red line shows the consumer prices. The consumer prices were going up in the last 10 years from 2014 to 2023 very strongly. Then we see the green line, which is the producer price for milk. it is increasing too, but it is slowly increasing. Then we see in the middle table the margin of supermarkets. And we see here that the margin is increasing strongly. And if we look at the share of the part which is going to producers at the end, then we see it is a decreasing share which is reaching the farms. So the same thing to apples, also the same source. It's a state agency which did the analysis. For apples in supermarket, we see a strongly increasing consumer price. So consumers in Germany feel that food gets more cost intensive and more costly every day. So it doesn't feel very good to know that that farmers want more money, because the first feeling is, oh, the food prices will increase. But we see here increasing is the margin for supermarkets. The share for producers was not increasing so much. Same for ground beef. These are only examples. You see here the share for producers is even nearly stagnating. And so we see the money is not going to farmers. That brought us there, that we funded together with farmer organization, with development organization, with church organizations like Caritas and Diakonie, the initiative Fair Prices in the Food Chain, INIFAIR. With them together, we even made demonstrations. In every January in Berlin, we have a big food fair, which is called Green Week. It's a fair from the food industry and from the food trade. And there, at the same time, we are on the streets showing what is not fair in the food chain. And so we are going together with, for example, on the left, you see here a woman, she is affected by poverty, and we invited her to speak about that. And you see down there the right to food movement in Germany. You see in the middle our young people above, a media broadcast on the front page of our demonstration, which shows a lot of youth organizations. And you see here we are about between 40 to 80 tractors participating in the demonstration. And we are asking for every farm counts, for farms and climate. So this is one.
We can come to a close, yeah. Reinhild? Yeah.
We are bringing the voices together, and we are channeling it also to the parliamentarian process. So in this case, we addressed the EU Commission that the fair pricing demand of farmers is also a demand of consumers, but we want fair prices and more transparency in the whole food chain. And for that, we saw that luckily Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the EU Commission, proposed really a better law on this. But still, we have big challenges. We are not there where we wanted to be. That is the reason why also in this January, just 1 week ago, on the 17th of January this year, we had the next demonstration with 8,000 people and 40 tractors in Berlin. So we made the experience that there are gates we have to walk through. We have to go to the people where they are, and then we can start discussions we didn't thought before. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reinhild. Very powerful, very concrete. And it shows how you use a variety of tools, you know, scientific data, field visits, role play, political lobbying, communication, gathering different stakeholders, and how it's a long process. Wow. So with that, we are aware that we have a lot of wisdom in the room. And it's a bit difficult to really open up. We want to hear from all of you. And the way we're going to do that is go in breakout groups. You're going to be put in breakout groups of about 5 of you. And here's the question that you are invited to discuss. And I've seen in the chat that there is really a lot of experience there. Sorry, I just need to clear one thing. Yes, and then I can put the other. So basically, the idea is to reflect from your own experience. So you can introduce yourself in the chat. We only have 15 minutes, so don't try to do a round of introduction. Just write it in the chat. And maybe one of you is in a polarized situation or conflict related to food systems that you find is very relevant for the conversation, and you might want to describe it briefly. But you could also learn you can also speak about what did you learn from the speakers which could help you deal with this particular situation, or in general, if there might be other situations that are polarized. And in your reflection, because we're the Conscious Food Systems Alliance, we like to talk about inner capacities. What attitudes and skills are needed to address these situations constructively? And just to let you know, it was very interesting in our preparation how Reinhild and Ibrahim was describing what they were doing. But Patrick and Thomas and I were asking, but wait a minute, how come you did that? Why were you able to do that? And that led them to an introspection about their own attitudes, how they come in a space with an open heart, with an open mind, and that helped create the trust. So the invitation is to also think about that. We will have CoFSA Secretariat members in some of the groups and the speakers in some of the groups, but because we're so many, you might just find yourself without a host. But so please go ahead and dive into the conversation, and I'll put the questions here in the chat, and we'll be back in maximum 15 minutes for a quick round of highlights. And we know very well that this is not enough time I hope you have the questions. Yes, it's not enough time for this topic, but we're doing the best we can with the 90 minutes we have. So have fun meeting, exchanging, and we'll see you back in 15 minutes maximum. So maybe Noemi, yeah, we can open and we will go there. So the idea is not to have a feedback from every group in the next 5 minutes. That's not possible. The hope is that you've had a very nourishing exchange in your group and are coming back enriched from the wisdom of your peers. But if some of you want to share the highlights of that wisdom in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand and share a wisdom nugget, the floor is open just for a few minutes. Anybody want to share a highlight that struck you from your conversation, or a key message or lesson you're bringing back?
React.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
simply from the fact that I thought, do we have any polarization situations in food systems? And then I listened to all the people in my group and I thought, oh man, there are so many. Discussions about, when you're a vegetarian, discussions about claims versus reality, health narratives. What was mentioned? In America, the whole situation with immigration and that a lot of farm workers are immigrants. What do we do without those farm workers? Processed foods, government saying we need to eat better locally, but at the same time, ultra processed foods that is just readily available everywhere, and the access to the healthy food is actually not so easy. So yeah, for me, it was an eye opener to say, yeah, we have a lot of things going on in the food systems. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like what Andrea writes here, lead with curiosity and tension. In our group, it came up that it's not about either or. It's sometimes about holding opposing truths, and valuing different perspectives and not saying we have to be one or other. It can be both. Yeah. And we also said how it's quite a kind of a way of thinking, especially in the development work and when you're working on, humanitarian aid and human rights, like we're doing good, so we're right, right? They're taking the moral high ground. But, Walter in our group was asking, are we really ready to listen to a different perspective, right? In our Conscious Food Systems Leadership course, we have a session where we ask ourselves, how am I contributing to polarization? Any other thoughts of wisdom? I'm seeing also the comments in the... Melinda, did you want to speak?
Yes, yeah,
Thank you.
don't do too well with the technology. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very
Can
well.
you hear me? Yeah, okay. No, just also related to the person who just spoke about the quality of food, nutrition, all those aspects. For what is a very practical way where I live is we found out, is to try to create experiences of not only of what we eat, how food is prepared, the nutritional value, but also how we eat. And for me, that's a good starting point with small groups and areas that are there's much division between the wealthy and the poor, and to examine the cultural traditions of how we eat and the value of eating together or of not eating together. Because the whole thing of processed foods and how we eat processed foods and fast foods affects us on a daily basis. And it's a good entry point to begin to discuss food itself, and then you can delve deeper. But the whole thing of how we eat and how we eat together provides moments of reflection, of interiority, besides the sharing of the actual food.
Yeah.
So that came into our discussion for those of us who don't operate on a macro level or on a big level.
And it's often when you come down, and that's what food is, a powerful connector, because at the
Yes.
end of the day, we all eat. And I'm really loving the comments in the chat, about capacities needed, like avoiding the expert's mindset, connecting at a human level, where you share about personal things and finding other common ground and things that we all care about. And that's, I think, resonates with what Reinhild was sharing about going around water, as a common ground. So lots of wisdom in the chat. I'm going to, and just a final thought from our group was Carl saying, is polarization such a bad thing? Wouldn't a unipolar world be very boring? What would democracy be with one party? So maybe it's not, polarization is not a bad thing in itself. It's also, that creative tension, but it's how we navigate so that we can have creativity. So this whole issue is going to be one we're going to be balancing with, playing with. I saw Marie-Amélie asking, can we be playful? I hope so. Great cue, because we're convening this Conscious Food Systems Summit in Bhutan, and we certainly do not want to avoid the tough conversations, but we have the hope that we can demonstrate how we can have tough conversations in way that create reconnection, that heal, that offer reconciliation and many levels. And Jimena is going to close us off by sharing with us how we can, a little bit more about the summit and how we can engage. Jimena, if you're there, it's over to
Yes.
you. Wonderful. And
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. So thank you, everyone. This has been truly inspiring. Thank you for the presence, for the depth, and the generosity you brought today. So we learned that food systems transformations are not only a technical or policy challenge. So I think we can really recognize that we need a human and a relational journey And it's not only what we are changing, but how we are changing, how we collaborate, how we connect, how we choose to care. And this captures really, really much the spirit of the Global Conscious Food Systems Summit that CoFSA and the Royal Government of Bhutan will be organizing this September, 31st of August to 4th of September in Paro, Bhutan. And the main outcome that we want to achieve with this summit is really to advance a paradigm that recognizes the value of mindsets, culture, spirituality, and the inner dimension that are needed, the inner capacities that are needed to really unlock food systems change. And we, as Charlotte said, the summit will hold a big space for healing, for recognizing the tough conversations. And we have learned today about different tools, approaches, and capacities that are needed for us to really recognize the discomfort, the tough dialogues that we really need to address in order to move forward together. So we heard about safe spaces, and we heard about the enabling environments that are needed in order to move forward. So two important action points. One is that next week we will be launching a call for submissions that will be sourcing the main content of the summit. So stay tuned for that. We will invite you to really spread the word, and really, if you feel it resonates with your initiatives, to apply. We're looking for a highly experiential and transformative submissions. And the other one is that the summit will be officially launched around early March. So also stay tuned for that. So thank you, everyone. I think that we can bring with us the idea that we are not working in parallel, but we are working in relationship. And that let's keep this reflection alive about feeling connected, continuing this conversation forward. And we look forward to also see you in Bhutan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you, Jimena. And Jimena has just joined the Secretariat. She has the no small task of managing the whole summit preparation. So let's give her a hand of applause in the meantime already, encouragements. And we're delighted to have you here, and we look forward to co-creating this beautiful event. So see you all very soon. And for the team that behind this meeting, we can reconnect on the other and debrief. Bye, everybody.
Thank you and bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Goodbye.
Thank you for.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very much.
Bye. Take care.
Merci.